On the meat of the matter, Mark, Peter, and I get to hear stories of healing and these carnivore journeys from amazing people. And in this conversation, Krista DeWeese not only tells her story and her healing journey, and we're from PCOS, Hashimoto's, type 2 diabetes, thyroid cancer. And to top it off, it's not even done yet. We haven't even discussed the Ozempic factor. Her story with her experience with the doctors, the medical system, and Ozempic is necessary. You need to hear this. If you are thinking about Ozempic, please don't get caught up in the glorification and the celebrity status about this drug and how it's miraculous. Learn about it. Due diligence. Listen to this story. Share this story because it's very, very important. Not to mention, after the talk, after the conversation, well, Krista mentioned it during it that she's getting her results of her thyroid cancer results the next day. So she's recently posted on Instagram her results. We put that post on the end of the video. So please hang out till the end, hear the news, and share this interview with somebody who needs to hear it. It's a great story. Krista's her energy is fantastic, and yeah, it was shocking, but necessary to hear and share, and her courage in sharing it. So please enjoy this interview, and hopefully you'll take away something like we did. And there's a lot of takeaways in this one. But we present to you Krista DeWeese, diabetic girl, and her fascinating story. All right, welcome back to the meat of the matter. We are here with our guest today. Excited to hear her story. Krista, it's diabetic girl on Instagram. And we're just going to kick things off. Normally, we are live on Sundays. These are our chances to meet people in the space, hear their stories, hear their journeys. We're excited to have you, Krista. Thanks for being here. And we'll just dive right into it. And just, if you want to just start with your story and how you got here and what you're all about.
Yes, thanks for having me, Tony. I'm so happy to be here to talk about my story. It's a little unique, but there's a lot of people that have similar stories out there that learn a lot from my story to, go on a better path for themselves. So I will start out with my teenage years. I was a pretty thin kid. I was made fun of. They called me beanpole, things like that. I was always just very hungry, very hungry teenager. So I ate whatever I wanted, never gained weight. So I kicked off, my young adult years with, basically eating hamburgers, pizza, anything, and not gaining weight. So that surprised me later on when I was not able to do that anymore. So when I was about 13, I started noticing some cysts and things like that under my skin in my groin area. And so, of course, it's when you're, starting puberty and things like that, things start to change, your body starts to change, but it was not what I expected. I didn't expect to have to wear, cotton clothes and certain types of materials against my skin because I had these cysts. And I found out later on that I had hidradenitis suppurativa, which is a pretty debilitating skin disorder if you don't get it under control. You can get cysts that are, the size of a golf ball, sometimes bigger than that. And there was times when I couldn't sit down or couldn't, live a normal day at my job because I would have these huge cysts under my arms or down in my groin area. So, this was a very big concern through my whole life. It still is something that I have to take, control of. And if you don't control your diet and your lifestyle, it will, um, get worse, and it will go into different stages. There is a stage 4 where it starts affecting your face and the upper part of your body. And I did reach that stage at one point in my life. So that was just one part of this whole, onion, peeling back the layers of the onion. That was just one part of it that started very early on. Shortly after I found out that I had I'll call it HS for short. I found out that I had PCOS, and that polycystic ovarian syndrome. I, cannot, I can't bear children. I can't do a lot of things that, women with a healthy ovaries and eggs can do. So how I noticed that I had that was my periods were extremely heavy. I'd have to wear a diaper and just, miss a lot of work because I was just bleeding for weeks, and, it turned into months at one point. So doctors really at the time, when we're talking early 2000s, mid 2000s, doctors didn't know how to treat you. With HS, they just gave me antibiotics. Every time I had a flare up, with cysts, they would just throw antibiotics at me every single time. And, it messed up my stomach. It messed up my guts. And it just was not the proper way to treat it. There really isn't a cure for HS or for PCOS. So you really have to learn how to live your life to manage these diseases. You can't just do willy-nilly whatever you want, like I was doing when I was growing up. You have to learn how to eat and learn how to move. And you actually cannot do a lot of exercise when you have HS because it affects your sweat glands. So when you sweat too much, it actually can create a cyst. And that's one of my experiences. If I do too much cardio or sweat too much, I notice I get some pop-ups under my arms or in my groin area. So the best exercise for me is either yoga, Pilates, or swimming because I'm not really sweating. So, it kind of makes it hard. You can't do a whole lot of exercise, but I make it work and I do what I can to move, and you could lift weights as long as you're not sweating too much. So yeah. So when PCOS kind of rolled around, I didn't know how to manage that. Doctors really just want to put you on birth control pills or some kind of hormone adjustment. And I refused it. I said, I'm not taking birth control pills because when I did do that earlier on in my teen years, I gained 100 pounds. I'm not kidding, 100 pounds. So I went from being, like in the low 100s, I'm 5'9" and I was like 115 pounds when I was younger. And then I got up to, 215 pounds pretty quickly after taking birth control pills. So here we are with PCOS, don't know how to manage it, don't know what to do. Go to the gym, try to eat right, eat less portions. That's really all I knew what to do. And nothing would happen. I was still the same weight. I was still struggling. I still felt like I wanted to die pretty much. And then I enter college and I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling worse than ever. And then I was diagnosed with hypothyroid. So my thyroid, wasn't functioning at a optimal level. So I started taking Synthroid, and Synthroid actually made me feel worse. A lot of people are on Synthroid because that's all their doctor will prescribe. And that's all insurance will cover. So after I decided to pretty much give up on my life before I turned 30, I was just like, I'm done. I'm so sick. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm not even 30 yet. I was referred to a naturopath, and that was a totally different experience than, Western medicine doctor. She set me up with lots of blood tests. I mean, I was like, it was like 10, 20 different blood tests I took. And we wanted to discover like what was going on. So she said, you don't have just hypothyroid, you have Hashimoto's. You have something that we need to keep an eye on, and we need to start doing ultrasounds on your thyroid because there's antibodies attacking your thyroid. It's basically eating it away. And so, being barely 30 years old, hearing all this, it's just a little bit of a shock, finding out that you have all these issues. So at least I found out what was making me feel terrible. I said, okay, at least I know now, but now what do I do? And she said, well, you have to overhaul your whole life. You have to eat a certain diet. And when I was on the autoimmune protocol diet through her, and I didn't know how to go from eating whatever I wanted and, you know, pasta, rice. I didn't know how to go from that to what she was suggesting, which was a lot of vegetables. It was mainly vegetables and meat, and it was like low fat meat. So it would be like turkey or chicken. And it was a very hard transition to go through because I was a binge eater. I was eating whatever I wanted. I could eat a whole pizza, no problem. And I just couldn't do it cold turkey. So I failed, failed the first round, and she was, concerned. She said, I can tell you're not doing the diet. And I said, yeah, I know. I said, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do this. I don't have support. I don't have anybody in my family that's really understanding what I'm supposed to do. I have a lot of enablers in my life that eat a lot of junk, and it's hard to be around them. So I'm definitely addicted to sugar at the time. And I just didn't know how to go through this without proper help. I needed like a therapist or somebody to regularly check in with me, because this is like up here. It's all up here. It's all in my head that I want to eat all this food. So I start going to the gym. I start working out. I get a great job, which gives me money to be able to eat, to buy whatever I wanted to eat, and to be able to afford a nice gym. So I started seeing changes when I was moving more. Going swimming helped a lot. And I was starting to get into this lifestyle where, I'm going to, eat. I started eating salads every day. That was all I would eat, but I was starving. I was starving. I would sit there and I would hear my stomach growling. And I was like, wow, I just ate like a pound of lettuce and I'm really hungry. And then I would start getting that itch to eat something sweet. Like I really need a muffin, or I really need a donut, or like an iced coffee with, whipped cream and stuff on it. So I started getting into this, like, I'm going to treat myself to a sweet treat because I ate a salad for lunch. So I did this weird thing where I'm going to reward myself with this donut because I had a salad for lunch. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but it was the cycle that I was doing. I was still losing weight, but I wasn't feeling good. I was feeling totally crappy. And then that's when they found out I was pre-diabetic. So I was like, great. What else can we do? What else can this, body give me? So when I became pre-diabetic, they put me on something called Victoza and, insulin. They tried to put me on metformin. I couldn't take any of those drugs because it made me feel sick. I couldn't function at work because I just felt nauseous and weird. And I don't like feeling dizzy. I don't like it when my blood sugar drops so fast that, I feel like I'm going to fall over. So I go back to I'm just doing Western medicine and, going back to the naturopath, telling her what they were putting me on. And she said, well, she's like, so if you're not going to follow, the diet, then you have to go on medication because you're not following it. You're not doing it correctly. So she got really upset with me and kind of fired me as a patient because I wasn't doing what she wanted me to do, like to the T. And so she was kind of like pushing me out. She was like, you go do what you need to do because you're not really listening. So I worked at a job where we got free food. I worked at a job where you walk in, there's a cafeteria, there's free sushi, spaghetti, pizza. It's all free. There's even an ice cream machine. It was just really hard for me to really drown out the noise, that food noise, and go straight to, like a piece of steak or meat or whatever. It was just really hard. And I was getting ready to get married. I had met somebody and we were planning on, a wedding, with, and so I wanted to look good. And I worked out 2 hours a day. I was on the treadmill. I was doing swimming. I was doing weightlifting. I lost a bunch of weight working out 2 hours a day, which was exhausting. Um, and just drinking shakes and stuff. And I was just like, what the hell? And when you get in that mode where you have to look good for an event, nothing will stop you, right? Especially a wedding. Um, so maybe 6 months or so before my wedding, I found out about keto. And I was like, well, what's this? And so it talked about, no sugar, no processed foods. It was just meat and vegetables. Simple as that, meat and vegetables. I signed up for a food delivery program. It was like Blue Apron or one of those. I can't remember exactly which one, but they had a keto meal plan and they would send it right to my door. I learned how to cook through these programs. I didn't know how to really cook good before. And then doing this, I was like, wow, now I know how to cook a steak. Now I know how to prepare, vegetables in the oven. I was like really proud of myself that I could actually feed my then husband and myself with some proper nutrition. Right away, I started feeling good. I started feeling like I was younger. I started looking good, and I was just, my self-esteem was through the roof. I was ready to get married. I was just so happy, and but those meal programs are expensive. You have to really you have to have the budget for that. I think I was spending, I think it was definitely over $100 a week, but you didn't get a whole week's worth of food. You only got maybe 4 days worth of food. So the other, 3 days of that week, you had to figure out, what are you going to eat? What are you going to prepare? So, we did do a lot of fast food and we did a lot of eating out at like Red Lobster and things like that. So, our date nights were usually eating a bunch of food, eating at a restaurant and spending a bunch of money and, cocktails and things like that. So, um, I was off my diabetes medications because I didn't need them anymore. I was still having my cheat days and I was doing okay. But there is a time when cheat days don't work anymore. And I think it's when you get a little older and your body's like, nope, you can't have a cheat day. It's done. You're done. So as I noticed, as I got a little older, I couldn't have 2 cheat days. I could only do maybe half of a cheat item, not even a meal. It was like an item. And I still do that. I still treat myself to little things here and there. But I do pay for it. I do suffer through the day and the next day as well. So it's something that I have to really prepare myself for if I'm going to do something like that. And I have to really think about it. Is this worth eating? I'm going to feel like crap for the rest of the day. So is this worth it? So, it got to the point where my stress levels, I got divorced. My stress levels were through the roof. I was living by myself. And I know my cortisol was pretty high, and I had it tested, and they said it was bad. And so things started going out of control, and I was by myself, and just like nobody to really help me out. And my diabetes started coming back. They were telling me, your A1C's creeping up, and your blood sugar's creeping up, and you need some medication. So at this point, I had lost my job that I loved, and super stressed out, living by myself in the Bay Area. My rent's like, $2,300 a month, and I don't have a job. So I'm like, what do I do? I'm gonna just be homeless or something. I don't know. So I had Medi-Cal at the time, which is free healthcare for people that make under a certain amount of money. And They sent me to the free clinic, and I had a doctor prescribe Ozempic to me. And she said it's a very effective medication for lowering A1C, and it's great for weight loss. She said it's kind of new. She said it's not really new on the scene, but it's new as far as like it's becoming more well known through celebrities and people on social media and things like that. I was like, okay. So she gave me the medication. I picked it up that day, and then I injected myself with it that night. And when I woke up in the morning, I will have to tell you that I had never experienced this kind of illness ever. I started going blind. I was seeing nothing. Like it was just black in front of me. Like I could see spots of reality, but I had to crawl around on the ground to find the toilet because I was so nauseous that I just threw up all over the bathroom. And I actually passed out on the toilet while I was throwing up because it was that intense. And woke up and I was like, what is going on? I need to call 911 or something. So I called my mom first and I said, Mom, something's wrong. I think I'm dying. You need to get here now. And she lives like 10 minutes away. So she came and she said, you don't look good. You look green. You look pale and green. She's like, we got to go to the hospital. And I was just throwing up everywhere. And she, took me outside. I had to walk my dog because I knew I was going to be at the hospital. So I walked my dog. I was like, I have to get my dog outside. So I'm out there with my dog. And she said, my mom saw me just fall to the ground, like fall on the ground. The dog came over and was like licking my face, and she didn't know what was going on. She said I just laid there for about 30 seconds and didn't move. And so she came over and she said, what happened? I said, I don't know. I just blacked out and I just fell, And I said, how long was I there? And she's like, I don't know. It seemed like forever, but you were there for like 20, 30 seconds just laying there. I said, the dog was like licking your face and trying to wake you up. And so I said, well, we need to go to the hospital now because this is scary. So we got in the car. I passed out in the car on the way there. I get to the hospital. I passed out in the waiting room. I'm just sitting there like, what is happening? And they would not take me in right away. It was just weird. It was like, I keep passing out. Can't you guys take me in? And they were like, oh, just 1 second, And so they put me, I was sitting in the waiting room, just like with this, barf bag. And I'm just waiting to, I'm just so nauseous. And so they finally get me into a bed in the ER, and they still don't know what's wrong. They still don't know what's wrong. They're asking me if I'm pregnant. They were asking me if I do drugs. They're just, asking me all these crazy questions. And I'm just like, no, I took this product Ozempic. And they were like, oh, okay, well, let's hook you up with, put the monitors on you, the heart monitors, everything. And so they didn't really know what was wrong until I passed out with the heart monitor on. So it took hours and hours for that to happen. And when I woke up, the nurse looked at me and she's like, oh my God. She was like, you weren't here for a minute. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, just stay here. Don't move. I'll be right back. And then all these doctors came in and they were like, are you okay? And I said, I think so. I don't know. And they were like, your heart stopped. And I was like, what? Okay. And they said, yeah, how long's this been going on? I said, all day. I said, I've been passing out all day. And they said, yeah, your heart stopped. And I didn't know, I went into a panic mode, and, they put me on as like an anti-nausea medication. They put it in my IV. And they said, every time you get nauseous and throw up, your heart stops. They found out that the doctor had overdosed me on Ozempic. They gave me way too much. They were supposed to give me 0.25 milligrams, but they actually gave me 1 milligram, which was a dose that somebody taking it for like 4 to 5, 6 months would be taking. So this cardiologist came in the room and he says, we might have to put a pacemaker in if this continues. And I said, what? What is what is happening? And so he said, well, don't worry. He said, if you keep, having this issue, then we're going to have to put a pacemaker in because your heart stopped like a bunch of times today. And what he called it was a vasovagal syncope. So every time I get nauseous and throw up, my heart would just stop and I would just pass out for about 20 seconds. So it happened so many times that day. He said, you probably have a little brain damage from this happening to you. And he said, it's probably temporary. Don't worry. It'll go away in a couple of years. And I'm just like, what is going on? So of course I'm trying to call the free clinic to tell them, this is what happened. You need to tell this doctor. But they act like they have nothing to do with this. They acted like it was my fault that I wanted medication. They were like, you wanted medication. I'm like, well, wait a minute. You guys prescribed it. I didn't sit and beg for it or anything like that. I didn't say, please give it to me. No, you guys suggested it. You're the doctor. You're the one that prescribed it. So how is it my fault? So this clinic, they would not take responsibility for this overdose. This has been 2 years since this incident, and it is still pending with the Medical Board of California. The actions that they're planning on taking against this doctor, it's still pending. It's just ridiculous, but she's still in practice, and she was actually awarded an award. It was like Doctor of the Month. And when I went in there to see another doctor, and I saw her name on the board, and I'm going, you're Doctor of the Month when you almost killed me, So, I've been dealing with this. I have a lot of brain fog. I have a lot of issues with my memory since then. And I can't blame it just on old age. It happened right after that incident. I'm terrible with names now. I'm terrible with numbers. It's just, I'm not the same. And, I've gone through so much trying to report this to the FDA, to Novo Nordisk, who's the maker of Ozempic. I've made so many reports and so many stories that I've put out on Reels, and it just seems like nobody wants to acknowledge it. I know that on Instagram, my story about Ozempic was not seen by that many people. I don't know if it's because it's a negative story and it's, going against what the advertisers want, because I know there's advertising from pharmaceutical companies on Instagram, Facebook, Meta, just in general. And if there's a negative story out there about their medications, they're going to, make it so it's not seen. That's in my opinion. I've had other people tell me the same thing, that their stories are just not being circulated because it's a negative angle. So that was in 2023. So I went on disability because I could not think. I couldn't really do anything. I was just like, my brain reset, and I was just not in the right mind to start work. And so I went on disability for, I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 months. And then I was ready to go back, went back, and I killed it. I was great at my job. So I'm not going to say that it really impacted me that much, because I could work and do my job, but remembering names, I couldn't do it. I would see people in the meeting and I go, oh my God, what's that person's name again? And things like that would happen, but it wasn't too bad, thankfully. So that's when I thought to myself, I really need to make a big change, and it needs to happen now. And so I started looking into Carnivore. It's something I just kind of ran into on Instagram. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I think it was Michaela Peterson. I saw one of her reels or something, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all carnivore, just cold turkey, just do it. And right away, I started feeling pretty good. So I started out with doing ribeyes. I went for the gold. I did butter and ribeyes bacon, that kind of stuff, high quality, organic grass-fed meats. And my clarity was just, I was like, wow, okay, that brain fog that I had from that instant is starting to really lift. I can really tell a difference between that time and now. And now I'm starting to remember names, and I'm starting to remember things, and I can, recite things. Cause I was actually, let's see, I was working a job at a pharmaceutical company, which is funny because, I had to talk about great pharmaceutical products, and, I wasn't really fully into doing that, but it was my job. I was getting paid, and it was paying for my ribeyes. So I didn't really, I didn't really care. I was just like, as long as I can afford my food, I will do this job. Um, so then, 2024, that was last year. So I had done carnivore for, let's say, 3 months, and I wasn't really losing weight. I wasn't real, but I was feeling good, but I wasn't really losing weight and seeing like the results I saw other people getting, when you see the transformation videos and things, and it wasn't happening for me. So I was like, well, what's wrong with me? Something's wrong. So I went storming into the doctor's office, and I said, hey, I said, something's wrong. I said, I've been doing carnivore. I've been doing really good. I said, I feel great, but I'm not losing weight. And I just feel like there's something else that's going on with me. So he said, well, what do you think it is? And I said, well, I think my thyroid, because I've had this thyroid problem for years, and I've been on the same medication for years. So let's look into it. And so he goes, okay. He goes, well, why do you think it's your thyroid? So they questioned me, why do you think it's that? And I said, well, that's the only thing I could think of, because my PCOS is doing fantastic. My periods are so light. I barely notice that I'm on my period. So I said, that's great. My hidradenitis, my HS, is really under control. Like, I don't really get a lot of cysts anymore. I said, so all these things are clearing up, and I'm feeling really great. But why am I not losing weight? What's happening? So he started feeling around, and he said, I feel something. And I said, oh, you do? And he goes, yeah. He said, let's get you an ultrasound. And I said, well, okay, we've been trying to get an ultrasound for years. And had asked for ultrasound on my thyroid at this doctor's office for years. And they always said they put it into the system, but they never really did. I never heard from anybody to come in and get it done. So I don't know what was going on there, but he said, let's send you in and get this ultrasound. So I'm like, thank you. Went in, they did it. They called me and they said, hey, we need to do a biopsy. I said, why? And he says, we found something. I said, okay. So I went in, they did the biopsy twice because they wanted to make sure that what they found is cancer. So they called me. They said, we're very sorry. You have cancer. I was like, what? Okay. Papillary thyroid cancer. This is, I'm 48. This has happened when I was 47. I was just like, I can't believe this. I can't believe I have cancer. What is happening? My mother has cancer. I'm taking care of her. I'm putting all this time and energy taking care of my mom who has bone cancer. Now I have cancer too. How is this how is this happening? So, shock, of course, like how. And I said, well, you know what? If it wasn't for me going on carnivore and noticing all the different things that were happening, I don't think I would have went in and said, hey, check my thyroid. It was like all of those problems that I had disappeared except for the weight loss. And I was like, please check my thyroid. It was like, it was so weird. And, so of course they took it out. They took out the tumor, and they said, we don't think anything else is affected. We think your lymph nodes are fine. Come back in a year and we'll rescan you. My scan is tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm a little nervous, but it will be tomorrow. I will see if the cancer has returned or if it has gone in another place in my body. We are going to find out tomorrow. So That is actually we're caught up, except for the part where I kind of went and swayed away from carnivore a little bit, and I went back to keto only because this is something I talk about with other people that have binge eating disorders or have had binge eating disorders, is that people like me that eat a lot, like we need textures and different tastes. So when I just eat meat, it's just like so monotonous to me. Like someone like me, I can't do it. I did it for a long time. I did it for like 8 or 9 months, but I feel like when I throw in, a little avocado here, a couple little berries here, some cheese, it satisfies me much more to throw in a little bit of, I don't know, a side dish into my meat meal, because it satisfies my brain and it helps me so I don't overeat something during the day, or I don't get any cravings at all. So now I'm eating like sauerkraut, and it's the texture and it's a different flavor, and it really helps me it helps my brain become satisfied. So I can't do just full on carnivore. I have to throw in a little bit of flavor here and there to really satisfy my cravings. But that's where I'm at now. Super, excited tomorrow to find out if I'm cancer free. So I hope I can share some good news with you guys by next week. So any comments for me or questions?
I don't even know where to start,
so
man.
many, so many,
Holy
Krista, so
shit.
many.
Wow. Yeah, I'm shocked,
You're shocked.
and I feel for you. Like I can't even imagine the gaslighting and the bullshit that you've gone through with the medical system.
Yeah, they've definitely failed me many times.
And I can't believe that this doctor's not hung up, like strung out somewhere. Like what the hell is that?
I don't know. And the medical board, when they questioned me, it was a 3-hour questionnaire, one-on-one with the investigators. They're actual investigators. And they came out and they said, so what happened at the pharmacy? And I said, oh my God, you're right. The pharmacy. So when I went to go pick up the Ozempic, they questioned me about the dosage at the pharmacy, but they didn't do anything about it. They asked me, they said, have you been on this before? I said, no. And they said, oh, well, that's unusual. I said, what's unusual? And she said, the dosage. She said, this is not really a starting dosage. And I said, okay. I said, what does that mean? And she says, well, the doctor put you on that dosage for a reason. So I'm just gonna give it to you. If she would have called the doctor might have not known the information either. So who would have investigated the starting dosage? Who knows? But shouldn't they have a system where it flashes like a red thing? Warning, this person has never taken this. This dosage is dangerous.
That's negligence on all
Honestly,
all levels from every
100%.
step of the way.
Yes.
Holy shit.
And they're also investigating the hospital because the fact that they took so long to admit me and get the heart monitor on me, they said it took way too many hours to get those heart monitors on you.
Wow.
Oh my Lord. And hey, I gotta say this, like, because it just was fresh, but don't sweat the sauerkraut and avocados. I eat sauerkraut all the time. I think, that's, yeah, you're good. I mean, obligate hyper-carnivores, right? 70%. There's a 30% window, and sauerkraut's not the worst thing you can be eating for sure.
Well, I discovered something this week that's very interesting. So my blood sugar's been a little off. I was telling Mark a couple of weeks back when we were talking, my blood sugar has been really weird. Like when I sleep, it goes way up and it goes down and it goes up. And I said, what the heck is wrong with me? I'm not eating sugar. I'm eating great. Why is it going up and down like that? So you guys won't believe what I discovered. It was my sleep apnea.
Okay.
Sleep apnea was causing, if you Google sleep apnea and high blood sugar, there's articles about sleep apnea raising your blood sugar while you're sleeping.
Well, I think it's nervous system, right? So your body's going to be like needing to get jarred alert, right? So that makes sense.
So I started using the CPAP machine again. I put it away because I hated it.
Well, well, do you just do it? Like what, if you need it, you need it. So that is what it is. But,
and does it help? Did it change things?
Yes. My blood sugar is stable through the whole night.
Interesting.
After I started using the CPAP for just maybe it's been about 3 or 4 days now. And I'm like, I can't believe that was the problem. I can't believe it.
Wow.
It will also help during the day, because if you have good sleep, then your blood sugars in the morning will start off much better. And that's your insulin sensitivity will improve.
That's right. So a lot of people that have, type 2 and they notice the peaks and valleys while they're sleeping, get a sleep apnea test. It's, it's easy to do. They told me I had very mild sleep apnea, but it's mild enough, it's enough to affect me. So I'm hoping to see some good results now that I'm back on that.
And
I call it the elephant.
Do you know what I also see as well that it also affects blood sugar is when you overtrain, like if you do too much cardio. That's what I see. I see that it's not just sleep apnea. I see when people do an awful lot of cardio, that has a huge impact on blood sugar as well.
Well, yeah, because it's nervous system, right? Like your nervous system goes into fight or flight, and it doesn't really recognize the difference in the dangers. But yeah, if you're always constantly pushing that, for sure, that's definitely.
So there's a few of them. There's like the be training, the stress. It all relates. It's all related.
I've got to say it. I'm going to be the bad man here, but when people seem to cut out plants, that sleep apnea can change as well, and it might not necessarily be the sauerkraut or the avocado, but the certain plant foods may just have a little bit of irritation, and it'd be interesting to play around with that. But unfortunately, the problem is what we all do is we don't give it enough time to actually see if it's something, right? Like it is, but I've seen people, one thing, and it's like, it's the pepper, really? It's the black pepper, and it could be one of those things. I mean, I don't, and believe me, just keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to be that guy, but I mean, it happens. It does happen.
Yeah.
A lot of sleep apnea and snoring. Snoring is a good indication. Like when I have too much dairy, apparently I snore a little bit more, and that makes sense. It's a little bit more agitating to the system.
Yeah.
But man, like Krista, I'm so shocked right now. I want to scream. I'm angry. Like
I'm angry. Be angry with me.
I can't even imagine how you are. Like, you know what? And mad props to your ness right now, like holding it together, and like when I first started talking to you, that like you've got things, you're holding it together, especially like coming on and sharing, like wow. And I'm that's incredible. I mean, at the beginning, I'm like, what? Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I took away when I spoke to Krista a few weeks ago. I was like, wow, it's amazing how you're still standing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you're still positive.
And your energy, like you've got some great energy. Like that's incredible.
I've always been like this. I'm not going to let anything get me down. I lost my dad. He was 65 from heart disease. And then I had to take care of his brother, who also had heart disease. He had a quad bypass, and he lived 25 years after the quad bypass. And then I found out he had cancer, and I don't have any family. Like, I'm all he had, really. And I had to take care of somebody who was dying of cancer, and that was something to see. I'll tell you, walking in and seeing someone dying in front of your eyes is something really, I don't want anybody to ever have to see that, but it's gonna happen, And then now my mom has bone cancer, and it's just like, I don't want to end up, you know, in this path. I don't want to suffer, you know. I don't, I've seen everybody suffer, and I don't want to do that. You know, my dad was in the gym every day. My dad had a heart attack at the gym. So
how's your sugar addiction side of things now? Like, how are you doing? How's that?
I can look at a donut and say, ew.
Yeah.
I can look at these things and say, that's disgusting. It makes me feel like crap anyway, so I'm just going to walk away.
Well, good for you. If sauerkraut and avocados are your way to gain sanity with your diet,
right?
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I mean, you know, the alternatives, you know, when we binge, and I mean, coming from a sugar addiction aspect myself, I know how it is, and it can be, you know, it's nice when you start to make those choices. I mean, I can now walk through the grocery stores and go, ha, 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 I don't need any of you. But before it was like always missing it. Now it's different, and it happens over time. How long have you been animal-based carnivore? How long has
you know, it's been on and off. So I started, like 10 years ago, I started, like I said, keto, and it was, you know, basically animal based with a little bit of vegetables here and there. And I started a Facebook group, and I had other women doing it with me. And one of the people in my group lost like 125 pounds.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody was so just into it. And then the group fell apart when COVID hit.
Yeah.
We couldn't meet at the restaurants anymore. We couldn't meet at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of fell apart after the divorce. So I went back to animal based. I think it was May of last year. And that was only a few months before my cancer diagnosis.
Wow.
So my tumor was so large that they said I had it for like 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty big.
And you know, and just, you know, because when you were telling us that you weren't losing weight, that kind of makes sense, because your body's trying to heal so bad. And you know, like, that, people don't realize the potential energy when we're storing things, especially around our organs and body fat. It's a safety mechanism. It's a nervous system activation mechanism. And if there's something in danger, it holds on to things. And I can't believe that you said something about this is another thing that I was like, I wanted to like, I think it's my thyroid. Why would you think that? Like, what? These doctors don't have.
They don't.
That blows my mind. I mean, I know. We've all had our issues with the medical systems and stuff. Obviously, nothing like what you've gone through. And my heart, like, people need to hear these stories, because you know, Mark just made a video today about a guy who's getting freaked out about his cholesterol because the doctors are in his head, and you know, like, let alone hope. Like, how do you? I can't even imagine how it makes you feel when they're, you know, giving you horrible dosages of medications that are, you know, if anybody knew what was going on, they know that that's a lifestyle thing, and they can, you know, the Ozempic thing, just, oh my God, like, you know, like, this is incredible.
Yeah. And there was about 1,000 people around the same time that got overdosed on Ozempic as well. There's articles out there that talk about this, that they just throw them on this dosage and they don't even research what the starting dose is.
So they're getting away with it.
And that's the problem now. They're celebrating this on, it's not even doctors' offices now. They're putting these like billboards up, like, get your Ozempic here. We do the Ozempic. Like, what the actual F is that?
And I was about to ask Krista, did you hear about people having the same symptoms or similar troubles after overdosing?
Well, there's not a whole lot of information out there. I think, like I said, it's being kept from us. There was an Oprah special about these drugs, GLP-1s, and they were celebrating it. And I was like, I felt like just choking my television. There was one lady they brought on, And they said, well, there's some bad side effects for some people. She literally was given 10 seconds to speak. And she said, oh, I threw up and had diarrhea. And they go, oh, that's so bad. Well, let's look at all these gorgeous people that lost all this weight. One of them was a child. One of them was an overweight teenager that was given this medication, and they're just celebrating it. It just makes me sick because, of number one, what I went through on it. I get very upset when I see commercials for it. And what makes me even more mad when I see influencers, I have no idea what the hell they're talking about their Ozempic journey. And it's just like, okay, well.
What's happened to you through your life is the typical system failure. It's you. Yeah. You're broken. All your life, and as soon as the PCOS comes into play or anything hormonal, go on the pill. Yeah. Just go on the pill, you'll be fine. Yeah. Then when you're on the pill, don't worry about what you're eating. We've never talked about diet or nutrition or anything. Then all these things start like just popping into your Swiss cheese becomes a lot more holes, and now you're more broken. You're genetically flawed. Yeah. The history in your family, they tie that back into that, and then. Oh Lord, the diabetes and the metformin, the insulin, how many medications can we do before everybody starts to wake up and see that this is out of control? And I'm so sorry that you had to go through this shit, because I can only imagine the gaslighting that was going on all your life.
That's all it was. It was just gaslighting. You were never given the right support, even when. You said earlier, Krista, that the woman was actually blaming you. I can't remember that you went to see the doctor.
Yeah, they blamed.
And she was like, okay, well, this is your problem. This is not my problem. I've given you what you need to do. You're not doing it, and she basically fired you.
I'm doing my job. You're not doing yours.
I'm just gonna fire you. You're not doing what I tell you, so I'm gonna fire you. You need unless you follow my guidelines, then you're worthless to me. It's just mental.
When you file a grievance with like a medical facility or against a doctor, they send you back a response that gives them, they don't take any responsibility at all. On paper, they won't say it's our fault at all. Yeah. So that's why the medical board stepped in and said, we're going to make it known that it's their fault.
No doubt. Until we started waking up to things, how many people know that Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, all these companies are the biggest sued companies on the planet? All their lawsuits about, there's a bunch of other drugs that were swept under the rug. Nobody heard about it. Nobody hears about these lawsuits that are, civil action or class action lawsuits. And it's ridiculous. And this is absolute crazy. And this happens in all our countries.
Yeah. And Krista, you're not the only one. Like, I hear this on a regular basis with Ozempic. Yeah. I hear this quite regularly, that the side effects, people they're almost dying. I see these in columns, like they come up on social media regularly, and it's like, have we not woke up yet? It's not just one person. I don't understand if it was one person in the world that's struggling with Ozempic, but it's like every week. We're seeing it every week.
Yeah.
How old was that young child on Oprah? Who was on the Oprah?
I don't recall the exact age, but they were pretty young, and they were I believe the first guest that they brought out. And it's just, they want to show that childhood obesity can be cured. And anybody struggling, as an adult with lifelong obesity, they can be cured. And I don't know. It's just, if somebody would just write down what they were eating for a week, I'm sure we could help them say, look,
easily.
What's wrong?
It's funny how they say that a carnivore diet doesn't cure diabetes, but if you have lifelong pills like Ozempic, then it suddenly becomes a cure for diabetes.
When I was just starting my journey, my ex's sister, she was very big, and she tried all the diets, blah blah blah, and then she went to this weight loss doctor around in Vancouver, and she got prescribed Ozempic. This was probably 6 years. I'd never heard of it. This was before I was kind of in this space. And she said, oh, it's a drug that controls my appetite. And then I watched what she ate. And I was like, this is not right.
Mm-hmm.
You are eating less fucking McDonald's.
Yeah.
That is not like, and no shit, you're losing weight and you're deteriorating at the same time. Like I knew right then and then Ozempic came out, and it was like, you know, the celebrities and the glorifying and the, oh my God. But I knew then, I saw it, I was like, are you kidding me? And this doctor hasn't talked to you about it, because I was just getting into nutrition. And I was like, look, you know, is this a really good idea? Like, you're not changing anything. Well, no. The doctor says this is what I do. I'm like, oh my God. And now, you know, cut to 6 years later.
I've actually heard a similar story to yours, Krista. I think I heard it about 6 months ago. And what really annoyed me was that when this woman wasn't as lucky as you. This woman actually passed away. She didn't make it. And when she passed away, straight after, it was about, I think it was around a week later, they actually did a sponsored run for this hospital, and they made thousands for these people, for the doctors, and they were all clapping the hands and saying, you did an amazing job. And not one of them were held accountable for what they were prescribing her. And she was on Ozempic only for 2 weeks now. 2 weeks. Yeah. And they were absolutely convinced it had nothing to do with Ozempic whatsoever. Nothing.
And here's the other thing: we've got like, I think there's 4 incretin hormones that all work together: GLP-1, peptide YY, cholecystokinin. But when we know, like, just look at testosterone with men. If you overload your free testosterone, your body stops making it. You need an anti-estrogen. Okay, let's just look at that in general terms. Giving yourself a bunch of a hormone, what do you think happens to other hormones that relying on this hormone in a natural environment? And giving somebody a dose that is just completely disrupting everything down, like, that is crazy. And I can't even, like, oh my God, I want to punch that doctor in the face. Like, this is, and the pharmacist, you know what I mean? I'm beside myself with that shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Holy shit. Mark sort of warned us about a little bit, pre-warned us about your story, and I was not prepared for this. I swear. I was like, okay yeah, no.
This year, Krista, I've heard 2 amazing stories. Your story, and I heard a few months ago another guy is called Anthony. He was 700 pounds, big guy. His story is incredible. Your story and his will live with me for a very, very long time. I mentioned this to the guys last week. I said, listen, you need to get this woman onto the podcast. This was incredible. Me and Victoria spoke about this literally when we finished the podcast for about another hour. And we were like, okay, I need to get this woman onto more podcasts, because your story is absolute. More people need to hear your story, Krista.
So I'm going to say, like, because we're recording this, I'm going to say this. If you're hearing this and this story impacts you, or you've dealt with anything that remotely what Krista has, reach out, tell people, please come on our show, come and talk to us. We'll hear you. And it's time to scream back at this shit, because they don't care. They don't care. No one gives a shit. You have to take it in your own hands, because it's obvious that nobody's going to come and save you. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I try and hold the medical system, you know, I feel for doctors, but this kind of thing sways me the complete other way. I mean, I had reversed my pre-diabetes, and my doctor, the conversation with my doctor was, there's nothing you can do. You will have this within 5 to 10 years, you will be full-blown diabetic. It's you. And I was like, that is complete horseshit. And, you know, that's from a minor, like, you know, that nowhere near is dramatic, but this is the problem with our systems. They are taught and told and programmed and indoctrinated. Some of them think they're God, and they just they learned from a university lecture hall on what a prescription is, not a lifestyle, not nutrition, not health.
I've never seen you so wound up, Tony.
I'm fucking pissed, man. I am. And I see so many people out there just going, oh, I'll just go on Ozempic. Really? Yeah.
That's all I hear. I'm in a lot of groups So I'm in the thyroid cancer group on Facebook, and I'm in a PCOS group and a Hashimoto's group. And all they talk about every single day is how easy it is to take a shot and lose weight and how they feel better now. Oh, it helped everything. It helped my thyroid. It helped PCOS. It helped this. And I'm just like in shock, just going, and they won't listen to me when I tell them, be careful. I said, if you do go on it, be careful. They laugh at me. They go, that was your fault. That was your fault that you were overdosed. You should have known the starting dosage. And I'm like, me? I was supposed to know that?
They also need a punch in the face. Like, that's ridiculous.
I get drilled on social media, drilled for telling my story.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Amazing.
come on anytime. And absolutely, like, I'm charged up right now. Like, I'm serious. This is like all those stupid people that are doing the sugar diet, doing Ozempic, doing anything they can to lose weight. And it's most of them, it's not their fault. We've been programmed with shame, all this bullshit in the media, all the stupid. I actually was looking around, going for gas. Just take a little minute to look at the gas station food. You walk in there, there's somebody getting their lottery tickets, spending half an hour at a gas station getting lottery tickets, so that you're standing there looking at all the candy bars, all the chips, all the pop. It's just like, this is just sensory overload of crap. For a slightly weak mind, you're picking up something. You're grabbing it.
Yeah.
And then you're making an excuse. Well, I was in line, you know. Somebody was taking a long time in line, so I thought I'd have a Snickers bar. And this is where we're at, you know. And then it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just take Ozempic. Eat as much Snickers as you want.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, you guys know, when I'm doing my videos, I might come across angry when I'm doing my videos, but there's a reason for it. Because when I see these people coming out on social media with just this bullshit, I'm like, listen, this needs to stop. Someone needs to fight back. Someone needs to come out with a different conversation.
Yeah.
We all need to be a little bit like Peter and just be a little bit more relaxed about it. But it's very, very hard.
Well, I seem relaxed, but I feel the same as you guys. And but the tricky thing about all these things is that they do work to some degree. So you can take Ozempic and you'll feel better initially. Yeah. You'll lose weight. Your insulin resistance will lower, and all those things. Same with the sugar diet, and that annoys me. That makes me angry. That people abuse the fact that this does work, but with all the side effects and with all the backfiring things.
And
yeah,
I think
100%.
Krista's.
I think our signal. I don't know if she can still hear us. Krista, can you still hear us?
Can you still hear us? Uh-oh.
No.
I think she logged in. I don't know if she can get back in.
Uh-oh. Should we send another link? I'll do that quick. I'll do that quickly. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, my cat's killing me here. Do you want to send the link to her again, Mark?
Yeah, I'll send. Give me 1 second. I'll send to her now. Give me 1 second.
But yeah, man, I mean, this kind of shit, Peter, I'm beside myself, man. And it infuriates me that people are a time bomb. And we're told to go to the doctor when we're sick. We're told to react to a condition or something unfortunate that happens to us instead of being bloody proactive. And I mean, you know, you're in a situation where you must do things in order to be healthy. You must. Most people aren't in those situations, and they're put into this, and eventually they get shocked by the time they're in a situation like whatever it is, cancer or, you know, diabetes or what. Here she is.
There I am.
There she is.
Yeah, my phone rang and it knocked me off.
Uh-oh, no worries. We were just talking about like how most people are waiting till they're desperate, or they're put in this situation where it's now the fear of God is in you, so you're taking these drugs because there's nothing else. The last thing you want, you get some bad news. The doctor's telling you need to take this drugs. If you don't, you're gonna die. And we were talking about just how Peter has to do things because he's a type 1 diabetic. He has to do this in order to be healthy. Most people come from the place of, I'll wait till I'm broken before I go deal with this. And by that time, you're scared shitless by the system, and you're part of the matrix. You're part of the cog, and and anybody that comes along, Mark comes along on his social media and shows you another way, but you've already been so programmed in fear that it's like Mark's the charlatan, Mark's the heretic, Tony, that guy. What if I just said this? He's a bunch of shit. That type 1 diabetic Peter, he's just him. Oh, Krista's just lucky. Are you fucking kidding me? Like this.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the video earlier. Peter put up a video earlier about this moron on social media. He tagged me in it earlier on, and he was going on about the carnivore diet, and he was like, okay, it's a fad. It's not been proven. It hasn't done anything to improve diseases, any of that crap. And there you have someone like Krista, who's after sharing her story for the last half an hour. She's after going through so much in her life. She's been looking for answers for years. Nobody was giving her the information. Decades. You know what I mean? She's at a stage now where she's finally getting there. Things in her life have improved, and you have the audacity to say that this diet is a fad.
Yeah.
It makes me so angry. So angry.
Yeah, it makes me angry too. And you know what else makes me angry is when doctors tell me I can go back on Ozempic because
oh my God.
They know my story and they tell me to go back on it.
Wow. It's incredible. Honestly, it just makes me so angry. It really does. It just pisses me off. Big time.
You know what I would take with that stupid injection? I'd take it and then I'd shove it right between their eyes. Like, are you kidding me? That's insane.
I know. They said go back on it. You know the dosage was the problem, so it's safe for you to go back on it. And I'm like, I don't want to even look at that thing again. I don't want anything. It just makes me so mad. And a lot of people ask me too. They're like, why aren't you a millionaire right now? Why didn't you sue the hell out of it? I'm not. I can't sue anybody. I've gone to many lawyers and they will not go near this at all. They won't.
Krista, you wouldn't have a chance against these people.
No,
you wouldn't. At the end of the day, money talks. You wouldn't have a chance.
No,
and it's very, very unfortunate. It really is. It's extremely unfortunate. You only need to look at the biggest scandal that we ever had, the pandemic, right? How many people suffered, and every single week, who were we clapping?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Who were we clapping every week? Now the guy that was running it here in this country. When you hear this, the guy that was running it, he was on every night on this TV, and he was telling the world, or he's telling the people in Ireland how many cases there was and how many people suffered, right? When this was all over, he got the freedom of the fucking country.
Oh yeah.
Freedom of the country. Yeah. And I was, honestly, I nearly took off my shoe and fucked it at the TV.
No shit. Well, I followed Ivor Cummins, so I knew every step of the way what was going on in Ireland with all that nonsense as well. And I mean, that is the indoctrination part. And there's no liability. Absolutely carte blanche, no matter what happens. And if there is, so to speak, they hush it. So I'm beside myself. I don't know. Like I man, you should be. Like, I don't even know what to call this talk today because like Ozempic stopped your heart. Like, this is crazy. Like, man, there's so many, and just your whole story, Krista. Like the whole, eating whatever you wanted when you were a kid. We all did. And
we all did.
and now, go ahead.
Sorry, Tony. I'll ask her after you. Go ahead.
And now, knowing what we know now, the grassroots nutrition education system could prevent a lot of this shit, but they won't make that happen either.
Yeah. And Krista, I asked you this on the other podcast, but I'm going to ask you on this one.
Yeah.
Do you feel at this stage now in your life you're happy?
Yeah. I mean, I used to be 240 pounds. Do you think I was happy? No.
No, but do you feel at this stage in your life now you found peace?
Yeah.
Like you're at a good stage in your life now.
I feel like I've accomplished a lot, and mentally I'm doing much better. I'm not going to say, because I'm going through a lot of stress right now. I lost my job. I've been laid off, I think 4 times in the past 8 years. And I live alone. So it's like, Yeah. And my mom supports me right now. My mom, who has cancer, has to pay my bills. So it's like the stress and the cortisol. Remember, I was telling you my cortisol is probably through the roof right now. I'm still working towards that peak happiness, but yeah, I'm doing so much better now. I'll tell you, when I was overweight and kind of doing things willy-nilly, like I don't care about myself anymore. I was self-destructive, like on purpose. Like I guess I wanted to die. I don't know. I can't really say that. But I wanted something bad to happen to me. I don't know why. I don't know. I can't even explain it.
And see, the one thing we want to be doing, Krista, no matter what, is just we don't want to be giving up on ourselves. Like these dark clouds that you have at the moment, they won't last. They won't last forever.
Right. I know you said that to me before.
Yeah, and I just I just want you to make sure that, like, you know what, all this external stuff that you have going on around you at the moment, that's completely out of your control.
Yeah.
But what you have full control of is you. And that's why I firmly believe if you just focus on you and live the best, healthiest life you can possibly be, everything around you is going to improve. I firmly believe that.
And not to mention, you have an amazing fighting spirit. Like you're glowing. So
thank you.
For sure.
No, there was when I was telling you, Mark, in my last podcast, when I was in my 30s, I wasn't able to go hiking or do any kind of physical activity because of all of the inflammation I was suffering from. Being 240 pounds, and the inflammation was so bad I couldn't walk. I mean, I had to buy, the extra wide, double wide shoes because my feet wouldn't fit into regular shoes. My thyroid, I was on that stupid Synthroid stuff, which going on Armour was a life changer. So, and my insurance does not cover Armour. So I have to pay for it out of my pocket. It's $200. So I hope that, the drug prices, when they announced, what was it, yesterday, drug prices should be changing in the US. I hope that also includes Armour and compounded pharmaceuticals, because compounded thyroid medication has been a big life changer. Especially for the inflammation and things like that. It's just been amazing.
And can you do me a favor, Krista, when this is over, when you do get the results tomorrow, can you do a little video, and we'll actually put it on this video when we publish it up.
For sure.
I will be so excited to do a video when I find out that,
and then literally we can put it on the end of this.
I probably won't find out for a couple days, because they're going to do the ultrasound. They probably won't call me till Monday, but I will definitely do a video.
And Krista, I was curious because you went to the doctor initially to ask about your thyroid because you were not able to lose weight.
Yeah.
But did things improve? They had to remove a part or all of your thyroid, I imagine, and then how's the thyroid aspect working in your body, and are you losing weight, and how are you feeling?
Okay, so they removed the tumor and a little portion around it. They did not do a full thyroidectomy on me. They said you need to keep what you have. So the surgeon that I had, the doctor that I had, was actually great because he didn't want to just take it all out. He said you still have a good portion of it left. It has been eaten away by the by the Hashimoto's. Unfortunately, there's not much left, but there's something, and I want to leave you with something. So he said I was lucky it didn't spread because I had it for so long. So hopefully, when I go in, my diet's been great since last year. So no sugar to feed the cancer.
Yes.
I'm just like, I can't wait to hear that I'm cancer free. I'm going to get a tattoo or something. I don't know. I'm really excited.
I'll get a tattoo for you.
I'm going to get, I want to get something that I can show everybody. Like, look, I'm cancer free. It takes 5 years. You have to get 5 years worth of ultrasounds for them to declare you cancer free. But, I have a feeling I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about the thyroid, so since I barely have any thyroid left, I mean, there's still something there. I'm still dealing with weight problems. I'm still dealing with a lot of water weight gain, water retention, and things like that. I'm still trying to figure that out. And now that I'm back on the CPAP machine, things might change. It might take 3, 4, 5 months to see anything, but I'm back on that machine because it's been helping. Yeah. So I refuse to take medication. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it.
Well, and about your type 2 diabetes, because that will play a major role probably in how to deal with this and the chance of success.
Yeah.
How is that going? Do you have a feeling, or are you wearing CGM or tested A1C? That's wow, yeah, good. How is that going?
Yeah, I mean, like I was telling Mark, you know, my blood sugar goes from like 99, then it'll go to 200 while I'm sleeping. 200.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's really a lot. Yeah. Wow.
And I'll go, why? Why is it doing this? And then I think it was the sleep apnea. So well, I'm still figuring that out. I'm constantly experimenting on myself. So, but you know, my goal is to get a great job again. Got to get back into getting that great job, and going back to a naturopath. Naturopath doctors here do not accept insurance.
Yeah.
So I don't have $300 a month to go see one.
And most of the naturopathic tests here, I think in the States as well, is if you take a blood test, you have to pay for the blood test as well. So you have to go,
yes. But we do have something, Quest Diagnostics. It's a lab where you can get thyroid panels done on your own without a doctor. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like $55. They'll do a big panel. So you'll be able to see the whole spectrum of what your thyroid's doing. And you could take that to a doctor and show them like, look, but what are they going to do though? Like what are they really going to do about it? I would rather take it to a naturopath and see what they say, because the one I was seeing was excellent doctor. And she did a food allergy test on me to see if I had gluten sensitivities. I did not, but I know for sure that when I'm not on gluten, I feel so much better anyway. So, you know, she did all these tests just to make sure that they didn't miss anything. The cortisol test was important too.
Did they test your mineral profile?
What's the mineral profile?
Like the minerals in your body?
I don't know. Maybe. It's
well, if you ever want, Krista, if you ever want to talk about it, because I mean, I'm a big believer in minerals, and it's not just the food we're eating; it's what the lack of minerals probably were there in ancestrally.
Okay.
But it's something to look at, especially with thyroid function, with iodine and magnesium, and there's a whole cascade of minerals that are
okay.
coming into play.
I
know for a fact iodine is no longer in our food supply unless you're eating table salt, which I suggest don't.
Okay.
But a lot of stuff. Iodine is a big thing. But if you ever want to, just give me a call and we can talk about it for sure.
I would love to, because I know they tested like vitamin deficiencies, but I don't know how deep that went.
And the problem is with minerals is we're different. So all these different RDAs and all that might not matter, especially with absorption and digestion and what you're eating. It can be a little bit complicated, but it's worth learning about and knowing about, because you know sometimes minerals are the key.
I'm really working on creating a amazing story, because and at the end of next year I'll be 50, and I think I'm going to be one of the best healthiest 50-year-olds that anybody had ever seen. So
yes.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Love that.
That's my plan. I'm working on it. You know, Instagram owes me a lot of money. You know, they will owe me a lot of money in the future, because I'm going to blow up that freaking social media account.
Yeah.
I
love that attitude.
No doubt.
You know, like I told you, I get a lot of shit. A lot of people tell me, stupid, and you're missing out on, you know, the benefits of Ozempic. You should go back on it.
The next one that says anything to you, tell them to come on our podcast. We'll show you that stupid. Yeah, we'll show you. Yeah. No problem. Send them our way. We'll fight for you for sure. That's just disgusting.
But I do receive private messages from people who are, 300 pounds and they're on Ozempic and they're losing weight. And of course they're going to be excited. I totally understand. Their life is changing. Their body's changing, and some of them didn't have any side effects at all. And then they'll reach out to me after seeing my story and they're like, now I'm scared.
and well, you know what? As well they should be, because does it end? What are you going to do when you've been on Ozempic your whole life? Like, that's the problem. These things can happen. You're good now, but what happens 3, 4, 5, 6 years later when you get addicted to losing weight? Now you're anorexic because the Ozempic is, oh my God. And
Yeah, no, I know. I could go on and on with you as well. I don't know. I feel like they glamorize it so much. Like, you're going to be a supermodel now, or the doors are going to open for you when you lose weight and you're skinny. I used to be on ephedra. This is what I was telling Mark. I was on ephedra back in the 90s and I lost a ton of weight. And ephedra was like crack, it was like, it was like a natural cocaine or something. I don't know. It was some kind of herb.
Yeah, it's a vasodilator, so it's going to make your arteries take in more oxygen. And I used to use it too.
I lost 10 pounds. I lost so much weight. I lost so much weight and so fast.
Yeah.
And I was only, like 22, 23. I landed a modeling job because of it. I was doing commercials. I was getting all this work doing runway stuff. And I was just like, my life's changed. I went from being chubby to this waif model in the 90s, and I got paid. I mean, I was getting paid to do these runway shows and things like that. And then I had an agent, and he came to me and he said, look, you got to push it a little bit more. You're a size 5 and I need you to be a size 4 or a 2. You need to lose more weight. So I was like, what? What? Oh God. And I thought, how am I going to do that? And he says, well, you need to go to the gym for hours and hours every day. And then I'm going to send you to Milan and you'll be making $20,000 for the summer.
Jesus.
And I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't lose more weight. But
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ephedra, like ephedrine caffeine aspirin, has been around in the sports community, especially. It's a thermogenic fat burner, and through like wrestlers and athletes that have to drop weight quickly, that's their stack they use quite often. And if you don't know what you're doing, it can be dangerous as well. So
yeah, well, when that went off the market, everybody gained all their weight back. So that's why I tell people, look, I'm living proof that taking these types of, appetite suppressants, stimulators, they worked while I was on them. But as soon as I went off, I gained like 20 pounds, 30 pounds. I gained, that whole, 60 pounds back.
Yeah.
That's what these people are thinking. You know what their doctors are telling them? This is what I'm seeing on social media. Their doctors are telling them, you can take Ozempic for a couple months, lose a little bit of weight, and then you go off of it, and you can eat healthy and exercise to maintain it.
Oh my God. Like, really? I love it. That's just so great. You know what the best appetite suppressant is? A fucking real meal with real food. That'll suppress your appetite if you eat like a human being. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Oh
Protein has been my best appetite suppressant.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just eat a ribeye, that's
it.
It's so simple.
I like that video you did with the eggs, Mark. That was great. You put in the, this is my Ozempic eggs.
Yeah, it is. It is.
18 pills for you. There you go. Just chew on them. Just chew on those. Just chew on those 18.
Don't eat too many of them, Mark.
You know what you know what I can't stand are people that are using the keto diet, saying they're losing weight on it. And actually, I found out that some of these people are using Ozempic or Mounjaro or whatever. I'm not saying it's just Ozempic; it's all the other types. There's a lot of them.
And see, this is another thing that really annoys me, Krista. I know a few carnivores that are doing really, really well. They're shredded. They look incredible. and every single one of them, you can see it in their face. They're either on TRT or they're taking steroids. And every time they do a video with their top off. and this is what people are buying into. They're like, oh my God, look at this guy.
Yeah.
And then when he comes out and says, well, I'm doing this dirty keto, you can add a little bit of sugar in here and there. I'm like, you are a fucking moron.
I know.
Because people are buying into it. The minute they see the body, bang. That's what people are gonna buy into.
Yeah.
Sex sells. It's like the minute they see the body, it's like, oh my God, this is what I need to do. This. I need to follow this guy. I need to do what he's doing. This guy's gonna change my life, and that's what really pisses me off.
Their face looks like Skeletor.
Yeah,
it's like I know what you're doing. You're not. You can't hide it from me.
And I'm actually very, very good friends with a carnivore. I won't mention his name because he's coming on to this podcast very soon.
Okay.
But I'm always telling them, I'm saying, listen, you're on TRT, you know what you're doing, buddy. You know what you're doing. Because when you look at this guy, his face, it doesn't move. He must be taking Botox also. And he looks incredible. But when you see his body, honestly, he's just shredded. And it's like, this guy, I won't mention his age because you'll know who I'm talking about. But it's absolutely insane. It really is. It's incredible.
I do have to hop off at 11:30. Just wanted to let you know.
No worries.
Well, I can come back.
We'd love to have you back, and definitely, I'm gonna wait to put this out until you send us the news, because I'll put that in at the end for sure.
I love it,
and we'd love to, like, man. Well, this has been one of the most I'm gonna say infuriating, enjoyable podcasts or interviews we've done. I'm like, I want to start screaming at the public right now.
Yeah.
You're inspiring me to keep fighting, Krista, and I'm so impressed with your story and your resilience and your energy. Like, considering what you've gone through, man, my heart is with you, and I'm so proud, and it's great to meet you and hear your story. But saying that, where can people find you? How do people get a hold of you? And if you send any Krista any hate, you have us to deal with. Okay.
I'll send them your way.
That's it.
Your way. Yep, I'm on Instagram at you'll see in the corner here. It's at dietboutique_girl. And I'm very active on Instagram. So send me a message if you want to tell me your story. Maybe I could do a live with other people that have the same situation. I was actually hoping to do some podcasts of my own. But you know, it's hard to get people to do this. They're kind of scared to do live. So hopefully you can send some people my way.
Sure.
And I'd have them on with you guys too. And
we're here if you ever need us, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. I can't wait to come back and tell you the good news. So
I can't either. And
looking forward to it.
And yeah, thanks for sharing and having the courage to speak out and be heard. Like, it's amazing, Krista. You're necessary. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Wait to tell everybody what's going on. So it's been a year since I had a partial thyroidectomy. They removed a pretty large nodule, cancerous nodule from my thyroid isthmus. So it's like the middle top part of my thyroid. I have a little bit of thyroid left, but it's been a year and I am still cancer-free. Please cheer for me. I had my ultrasound on Friday and I got the news on last night. So cancer-free, and I am so excited. Nothing's going on in my lymph nodes. So I'm just going to continue my regularly planned diet, which is animal-based. Not quite carnivore, almost carnivore, sort of carnivore, but and my workout routine is 5 days a week, 20 to 30 minutes, doing weightlifting or a light cardio exercise.
using all my muscles. I don't just run in place. I actually, do some push-ups and squats and things like that. So everything's going well so far. There's a lot of people that have had thyroidectomies, partial or full, that gain a lot of weight after their surgeries. And so I can report that I haven't really gained or lost any weight since the surgery. So I'm very happy about that. But yeah, you have to work very hard to maintain or lose weight after your thyroidectomy. So I can say that I'm very proud that I've been able to maintain the weight. Okay. It's a big step. So I'm still going to be working out a little bit more, doing a little more weightlifting, and seeing if I have some time to do it. I start a new job tomorrow, so my cortisol levels are through the roof, but I'll be on my feet all day long, you guys. I'll be on my feet working my buns off. So I will have to find time to come on and say hello as much as I can. Maybe on my breaks. I have no idea. I don't even know what kind of life I'm going to have after this. So my last day of freedom is today. I'm hoping to dump. I'm hoping to dump myself into the pool. Yeah, let's just do that. Dive into the pool sounds more like it. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that news, and I'm very happy to say I'm cancer-free, and I'm pretty happy about that. So good luck to you all out there with papillary thyroid cancer.